Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, no longer California, Los Angeles, to be pseudo-specific. My name is Brian Engelman. Today is Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. And this right here, the thing that you're watching, the thing that you're all ready for is called the TNAM Daily Show. My green screen's being weird today. I don't know what has changed. I think something has changed with the lighting. It's a little less vivid. I'm a little floatier. Maybe I just have to keep my hands off the screen. But no, I would normally do that, and it doesn't fade like this. I haven't changed the... See, that's like the yellow tone. I like it in the middle. I need to go up a little bit. I don't know. I'll have to work on this. Thanks for joining us on the TNAM Daily Show here on the New American Media. So, there was a report linking Tylenol to autism. We're going to discuss what Bobby Kennedy, President Trump, the FDA, HHS, all of the agencies that are designed and tasked with the intended theoretical purpose of trying to keep you healthy, trying to make sure your family can be strong and successful. Well, there are several things in the report. You've probably only heard about Tylenol, but there's several things that have been identified that need some more research, that need more scrutiny, that need more funding to determine if it's true or not. You also saw YouTube admitting censorship. YouTube, Google, they did everything they could to ruin our company, the New American Media, and they still haven't fixed it. Yeah, we just got super chats back. By the way, thank you to everybody who's testing it out. I think we're a third of the way so that we can make a withdrawal. It sets a first cap over there at $100. You have to get $100 in your AdSense account, and then you can make a withdrawal. So we look forward to testing it. We'll welcome every super chat imaginable. It's a new tip jar that we left out. You're here at the bar. I'm the bartender, and we're just going to discuss the stuff that's up on the screen. That's what we do here. We're a bunch of trash pandas dumping out the trash onto the table, sifting through. We're rifling through the rubbish, separating fake news from fact. That's what we do each day on the TNAM Daily Show. Trash Panda just had a Tylenol milkshake with bleach. Sure was good. Yeah. Exactly. So John made a thing. These are these mugs. Got to figure out what we want to do with them. I think John was suggesting there's 17 of them. Maybe put them up for super chat or something. So you got to let me know, like, what is the sunk cost per mug? Privately, you can shoot me a message or something, or you could just put it in the text. I don't care, on the comments. But what's a good price point based on what you got these at? I don't know what your cost was on these versus the markup, so that it would make sense, or how you want to handle it. It's your project. I'm here for it. Thank you for the donation. I think John was thinking, we're all regulars here at this bar. We should have our own cups. Appreciate you. So we're going to discuss all of the news in the world as much as we can get to. You'll never get to everything, but we try to get to interesting things. We definitely try to give you a little bit of an insight into what's happening out there, because it is a strange place. By the way, Antifa is a terrorist organization. What comes next? How will this be dismantled? You're 8 months in and you haven't seen indictments for damn near anyone. Nobody of consequence. None of the treason. None of the domestic terrorism. They've all been linked together. Scrambled eggs. When you have Kamala Harris working and promoting the Minnesota Freedom Fund to bail out the violent rioters responsible for the Summer of Love riots of 2020, that were used and fomented as part of a political strategy to demonize the president as literally the devil, which coincidentally many on the left would probably worship if presented differently. That's an interesting dynamic, isn't it? So what kind of faith do you have in anything? What kind of faith do you have in any prosecution, restitution, justice? Oh, that's great that Google came out. YouTube. Oh, YouTube censored political opponents. Yeah, I know. You still haven't fixed your algorithm. You still haven't put us up on the recommended videos on the side. You still haven't allowed our videos to be seen by damn near anybody, despite our thousands of subscribers. And the fact that we're covering the same type of content that a lot of people want to tune in and watch, and they're kind of sick and tired of having the same 5 or 10 options. If people knew that we existed, we would be in a much different place in the marketplace. So no, Google, YouTube hasn't fixed anything. Fine, we got our super chats back. Thanks. But we were advertised and doing okay until you guys stripped us of that. Until you started clamping down and shadow banning our content. Flagging video, deleting our content. You got a problem with something, you can mute a minute of it if you must. You're just gonna like deplatform the whole video. You're just gonna deplatform the channel. You know, identifying a problem without justice is not justice. There needs to be a restitution. Oh, YouTube, Google, they should absolutely have to pay a class action to the New American Media and everybody else who's been under the targeted attack campaigns of the Obama-Biden deep state for years and years and years. The people who staged the coup in this country. You can call it an election. Many people will just call it a coup. 2020. By the way, under duress, I show you at the bottom of the screen for countervailing views on anything regarding health, such as Tylenol or vaccines or autism, or anything about the election, air quote, election of 2020, because it doesn't pass the Joe Biden creepy kid sniffing test that Joe Biden's our most popular president of all time. It just doesn't make sense. Go get your countervailing views at cisa.gov/rumor control, cdc.gov, and who.int. How about that? Okay? Get our disclaimers out of the way? Great. Well, let's get to our program. And let's start talking about all the things that people are talking about here on the New American Media.
Your guide to the truth, thenewamericanmedia.com.
All right. Trash Panda here saying, nope, you do what you want. Price is up to you. My gift to TNAM. Thank you. But what I'm trying to figure out, I saw the shipping price. I think that's about $6 per mug in that box based on how they got here. And I was trying to find out what the sunken cost is. So it's like, all right, what's the baseline? Is it $10, $15, $20? Do you double that? What is the game plan? Yeah, but that's where my mind's at. Your gift to TNAM for us to do what we want. So, all right, let me think about it. But yeah, I was trying to do the math. Like, all right, you know what I'm saying. But thank you. Appreciate it. All right, everybody. Coming up later today, we're going to have an episode of Strictly Football. That on your screen right there is not going to be episode 1. It's going to be episode 5 of the season. Season 2, episode 5. That'll be with myself, Mike Barra, Jim Mitchell, and Ezrael Robinson. Strictly Football, 6 p.m. Eastern today. Let's talk about all the things. So Tommy Robinson reporting here, 24 hours after the snake Starmer decided to recognize the terror state of Palestine. Today, Maloney's government were asked to do the same. And now this is the scenes in Milan. Never negotiate with terrorists. Never mind, give them all they want. This is the Antifa equivalent globally. It's a global campaign, well-funded, well-organized. They've always pretended that they're non. There's no centralized funding mechanism. Nope, it's just spontaneous. Nope, I don't even know what it is. What even is Antifa? It's the most disingenuous shit you've ever heard. It's the terror campaign of the left, of the deep state, and it's ravaging through Europe right now. What's that say right there? I got to pause it. Different screen. Hold on. Hamas terrorists murder 3 Palestinians in Gaza for collaborating with Israel in a sick public execution in front of a cheering crowd. They were, what is this? PETA Leak says their crime was talking to Jews. And this is the state France, UK, Portugal, and Australia just recognized. Western moral collapse is no longer subtle, it's televised. Hamas is publishing images of hostages being held at gunpoint. The text says, soon, ladies and gentlemen, here's your Palestinian state. Hamas atrocities. Palestine seeks $2 trillion in reparations from the UK following its recognition as a state. Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas demands reparations from the UK for its 1917 to 1948 rule, citing international law. This is an absolute disaster, says the British Patriot. Things are happening globally. Dahlia Kurtz says, since terrorists were awarded a state, they executed 3 Palestinians on camera, proudly sharing it with the world. Shared a photo of a starved and tortured hostage at gunpoint with the caption, soon, demanded $2 trillion from the UK, and it hasn't even been 24 hours. So that's happening. Let's look at the violent mobs in the U.S. now. Sunny Hostin, today on Jimmy Kimmel's firing. She has lots to say on this. But what did she say in 2018?
Founders drafted the First Amendment specifically to protect the rights of citizens to criticize the government. When you cross that kind of societal norm, you must pay the consequence. And firing her was the right thing to do.
Talking in 2018's Roseanne Barr's firing. They killed her off of her own show and kicked her off of it. Absolute disgrace. This has been happening to people on the right. Normal Americans, I don't like to say the right. This has been happening to normal Americans for a long time. Yeah, I know Roseanne's kooky, and you're allowed to be kooky. You're allowed to, like, I don't even understand the arguments that are happening right now. Jimmy Kimmel, you thought he was fired? Oh, it's like a Halloween movie. He's back, or is he? It's getting interesting. He's back, or is he?
I'm thrilled that ABC did it.
So she was thrilled that ABC did that. You must pay consequences. Firing Roseanne was the right thing to do. But not Jimmy Kimmel, you know, because team sports. Let's compare the difference. David Harris Jr. says, we are not the same. So these are riots of the left at the bottom here, attacking cops and fighting in the streets at the burning cop cars and dancing on them, taking over cities. This was the BLM riots, smashing cop cars, burning them, setting fire to precincts. And the angry people over an assassination. If you want to call the George Floyd overdose / asphyxiation and assassination, well, you definitely call the Charlie Kirk situation an assassination. And hundreds of thousands of people with hundreds of millions watching across the globe gathered for prayer, for peace, attacking a guy in a wheelchair. These Antifa attacks, state senator talking about the protests. Can't play the music. Portland in 2020, tearing down barricades. They shot and killed somebody. A friend of someone we interviewed on January 6th up in, I believe it was Portland. Could have been Seattle, but I think it was Portland. And they hunted him down in the street and got him in a parking garage or outside of a parking garage, burning all these parking lots, these car dealerships. We are not the same. There's no making peace with this type of agenda. These are non-compatible. And it was the Democrat Party that was pushing this, that was funding this, that was encouraging this, all to try to get their person in power, to seize control of the federal government. Exploited and weaponized. That is the story of Barack Hussein Obama in a nutshell. And of course, the Joe Biden puppet auto pen presidency by extension. Oh no, you didn't like Charlie Kirk. Now Nick Fuentes is making it into feeds across the country. I don't know how I feel about this, but his brand has been so toxic. You want to stick far away from it. Alex Jones used to have that stink. I think the more and more he's been proven correct on a lot of the major things. Yeah, but he did that thing that one time about the thing where he said that event was being exploited by the Obama administration to take away our Second Amendment. Yeah, he got kind of fired up. He called a false flag can also refer to something that did actually happen, but then is twisted and weaponized and magnified to extract maximum political retribution. That part is true. That is something we can identify as happened all across this country for far too long. But like I said about Kevin Stefanski on my episode of the Unhappy Hour Sports Show a few minutes ago, I'm not a big Andrew Berry fan, the general manager of the Cleveland Browns. I don't like how he treated Baker Mayfield, who, if he gave him some patience, look how he's playing right now. We could have had the quarterback position solved, but instead they ran him out of town. But he had a great draft last year. We're having like 5 or 6 rookies making major starting player impact for a team that's really rebuilding and showing a bunch of promise. Well, I've seen enough of Nick Fuentes to know that I don't want to affiliate with him. But let's judge the post as it stands. He says, when the left was in power, they censored millions of ordinary people for expressing basic conservative opinions. They allowed Antifa and BLM to intimidate conservatives with violence. It's only because they are weak. It's only because they are weak now that they suddenly rally behind free speech. That is true. Let's look at this chart. Jesse Kelly here. Okay. Got it. So it's like call it 6 plus 6. So $12 in on them. $12 each. So 25 maybe. $25 super chat people. Maybe. If they were bigger mugs, I'd go 30. If they were even bigger, I'd go 40. I do sell mugs. I do have a reselling thing. I do like to sell mugs. Ask Gary Vaynerchuk about reselling mugs online. Going to garage sales, find them for a quarter, selling them for 30. It's fun. All right. Thank you for that. 5.5. I will remember that. All right. Jesse Kelly here says, let me explain something about the very, very dangerous situation we're in, why we're in it, and why you need to be careful around any Democrats in your life. Look at this chart. Look closely. Let me just make this bigger on the screen. 3 times as many Democrats believe that 3 times as many Democrats believe the Charlie Kirk assassin was a right-winger instead of a lefty, porn-addicted freak who thought he was fighting fascism. 3 times. How is that possible? But more Americans see left-wing beliefs behind Charlie Kirk's shooter than the right-wing beliefs. The communists in America's media and their politicians have created a world of make-believe, a world the Democrat in your life resides in, and a world they think is real. The lies are not only repeated, they are brazen, gigantic lies. And you don't have to be some tranny Reddit freak to believe those are lies. You need to just do things previously thought of as normal. You live in the pretend world, says... No, it's not Jason Meister. Meister? It's Jesse Kelly here. I don't know who Jesse Kelly is. You live in that pretend world. If you just do things previously thought as normal, you live in that pretend world. If you read the New York Times and watch NBC News, your entire world is fake. NBC News said there's no evidence found yet of ties between Charlie Kirk's shooting and left-wing groups. Like, how does anyone even say that? The lies get cemented more easily now due to institutional capture. So if you're a Democrat and maybe you think NBC might be lying to you, the communists at the FBI will confirm it for you. Democrats and the FBI say white extremism is a huge problem. Trump disagrees. This is nothing short of disastrous for our country, and I'm not totally sure of a solution. Democrats, even normal ones, are completely insane. They absolutely know so many things that simply aren't real. We've seen this manifest after Charlie's murder. How could that many people excuse it? Or in some cases, cheer? How is that possible? The endless lies have a radicalizing effect. They genuinely believe they're fighting Nazis, truly. And what won't your conscience permit you to do to a Nazi? Now, let's be very generous and say that's a 30% of the country. It's probably 40% or higher. How on earth can you share space with people that insane, desperate, and in many cases violent? 30% is a large number. I don't know. I know Democrat politicians are evil people, and as responsible for this is the media. And if you have to feel good about something, they are afraid of their violent base now too. New York Post reports Representative Mike Sherrill says Charlie Kirk wanted to roll back the rights of women and black people after voting for House tribute. That's insane. I'm not sure how this ends, but you need to train and pray, says Jesse Kelly. These things are not optional. Do not for a second think Charlie Kirk will be our last martyr. These people are nuts, and they're dead serious. That's all. So we put his comment, train, dead serious button. People generally just want to be left alone. People just want to be left alone. All right, so what is this here? Millennial Republicans shared this. Antifa are chanting no border, no wall, no USA at all. President Trump has designated Antifa as a terrorist organization after the assassination of Kirk. Wasn't it before that? Let me ask Grok. When did Trump designate Antifa terrorist org? It's Grok is being weird. Oh, September 22nd. I guess that was just yesterday. I've been reading these reports, trying to figure out exactly what date you can attribute it to, because it's been in discussions for a very long time. Not quite sure why this has been allowed to metastasize this way. Experts note no U.S. law allows formal designation of domestic groups as terrorist organizations. Only foreign ones via the State Department, raising First Amendment concerns. Antifa, a decentral, they always call it decentral. It's not. Anti-fascist, it's pro-fascist movement without formal structure. It has formal structure, isn't a traditional organization, limiting the order's legal impact. All right, so they're saying yesterday, all their troubles seem so far away. Antifa has openly called for violence against Charlie Kirk and conservatives. Tyler Robinson is responsible and must be brought to justice, they say. Very few people believe that person acted alone. So if there's a group that's advocating to stage a coup to overthrow the United States, to tear down the border and have no wall and destroy the USA so it's no longer there at all, what else do you call that? That's an invading army. That's a terrorist cell. That's an invading force. It's a aggressive military campaign to destroy the United States. These are their words. Nobody is putting those words into nobody's framing that artificially. This is them being them. And let's take a look at how Americans feel about this. Kristen Sokolov shares this clip from CNN here.
Seeing, Donald Trump being underwater, Democrats, and all this guarantees us we're going to fly high in the midterms. Let me tell you, this guarantees you nothing.
Look at how unhappy this lady looks. Oh, she looks so unhappy. Harry Enton, chief data analyst. Massive lead for Republicans. Massive. This should be the red wave. And that's what some people say. It's like, look, we're waiting for justice. We're waiting to get some stuff done. We need to finish with the clean sweep. We need a clean sweep in the midterms. Absolutely crush in the midterms and then run roughshod over the traitors, the domestic terrorists, the evildoers, really.
Nothing, because at this particular point, the Democrats are the New Orleans Saints of political parties. What are we talking about? Trust the Dems or GOP more on the economy? Who leads on the economy? Republicans by 7. Immigration, Republicans by 13. How about crime? A big issue for Donald Trump and the Republicans. Look at that. Lead by 20.
While we're talking about Republicans having a lead on crime, plus 22 in the polling, John there says, get rid of Bondi. Trump just called Bondi out publicly saying, you need to go. Get the indictments. What are you waiting for? Go. Come on, get on it. What are we waiting for? By the way, I don't see David Band back. Where's David? We got to get David back in here. Or he might be watching and lurking. I don't know.
2 points. So the bottom line is this. At this particular point, the ball...
I say so because David every day, he's like, where are the arrests? Where are the indictments? What are we waiting for? There's a really bad group that did a lot of really bad things that are completely illegal, civil liberty violating things. And without justice, like, it's hard to have a country without justice.
May be on the ground, but the Democrats have not picked up the ball and running with it. If anything, at this particular point, it's the Republicans who are running with the ball on the top issues, the economy, immigration, and crime. What are we seeing? Donald Trump being underwater, Democrats, and all this guarantees us we're going to fly high in the midterms. Let me tell you, this guarantees you nothing.
Guarantees you a red wave is what it's looking like. I got to change my comment. Red wave coming. Beware the false flag. Beware the black swan event. See, you didn't like Charlie Kirk, one of the nicest debaters you'll ever run into. You can disagree with him, but he was polite. He was respectful. A second Fuentes one. There is a void in political punditry and just there's a power vacuum that exists. I fill it the way that I can with my thoughts. But here's Patrick Beck David confronting or having a conversation / interview / interrogation of Nick Fuentes. So here's a trailer for it.
Your opinion of me. I'm Middle Eastern, married to a white girl. Or do you think it's better off for America to minimize more of me coming to America?
America's no longer America. Mass migration is changing what America is. And I want to conserve what America historically has always been.
Well, that's a little bit, that's a little bit harsh.
Well, I'm not.
There's music that I can't play. He said, well, whatever.
Marriages, huh?
I would play it, but it's got music. I'd be interested to hear that conversation between those two, is what I was getting at. All right, here's the biggest story of the day. YouTube admits to having censored people during the COVID pandemic and for political reasons. Offers terminated creators the opportunity to rejoin the platform. Yeah, you can stick that up your ass. Restitution. Restitution. A big class action lawsuit for people like our channel. For channels like our channel, companies like ours, creators like me, who have been throttled and discriminated against for a decade and a half, and offer to come back and rejoin the platform. Thanks. Oh, thank you. I can't tell you the thousands of hours that we've spent on your platform, on Facebook, Instagram, Meta, Twitter, to be met with resistance, shadow banning, demonetization, deplatforming, throttling, all of it. The company terminated channels for repeatedly violating community. Here, I'll read you a different one. Google admits censorship under Biden, promises to end bans of YouTube accounts of thousands of Americans censored for political speech. Today, thanks to the oversight of Chairman Jim Jordan, Republican, Ohio, by the way, go Indians. I should be very curious to see. I don't know Vivek Ramaswamy's stance on the Cleveland Indians. Should they come back? He's Indian, and he's from Cincinnati. That's in Ohio. Has he ever been asked that question? I'd like to, if someone knows Vivek, invite him on the show. I've reached out. But what I was saying is Cleveland baseball is fighting for a playoff position right now. So when I said Jim Jordan, Ohio, it reminded me of Ohio and Ohio sports. So follow the Unhappy Hour Sports Show too. Google commits to offer all creators previously kicked off YouTube due to political speech violations on topics such as COVID-19 and elections an opportunity to return to their platform. Google also admitted the following to the House Judiciary Committee. The Biden administration pressured Google to censor Americans and remove content that did not violate YouTube's policies. Yeah, you owe us. No. There's a class action lawsuit here. Like, what are you supposed to do with an apology for destroying what I've dumped my entire life into, to building a media empire? The stuff we do is just as valid and just as good as some of the other stuff out there. And you, Google, YouTube, have been targeting, discriminating, and destroying my efforts for a decade and a half. Yeah, welcome back on the platform. All right, well, how much per year? 100,000 a year? Million a year? Take the attorney fees away. Million a year, give some attorney fees. $600,000 a year times how many years are we going back of this? At least to 2019. They're going to say it's Biden. It was before Biden. It was the PewDiePie apocalypse. They went after PewDiePie because he was taking away too many ad dollars from the legacy media. So then they said, we need to go to authoritative sources. And so I could do a story on the Ariana Grande shooting at the concert, and we'd get a big marker. You're not allowed to talk about that. It's sensitive information. You can't say this. Your video's been hidden. It won't be seen to whatever. We can't recommend it. Don't do that. It's graphic, or it's shocking. Or you can't do that. Every related video on the side of the screen. It was CNN, MSNBC, Fox, ABC doing the exact same story because they were authoritative. I, the New American Media, was not allowed to have an opinion, not allowed to speak in the public square because of those tyrants. You think $1 million restitution a year is too much? I'd say it's not enough. We've been diligently knocking stuff out of the park, and you've been diligently knocking us back down. The Biden administration pressured Google to censor Americans and remove content that did not violate YouTube's policies. Yeah, that's the other part. And then you'd get something flagged or censored, and you try to have a back and you try to communicate with somebody. There's nobody to talk to at Google. Nobody responds at YouTube. They just ignore you. They don't deem you worthy of somebody to. What was the problem with the video? There was a video that had put a hard strike on our account a few months ago from a year before that. They could never explain what it was, what was said that was so damn bad. They never explained it, not once. They never explained it. And they made you take a re-education video to then potentially pass a quiz to then qualify that maybe that strike can come off your permanent record. Slapping us on the wrist. Don't talk about such things. And then they don't even define what the things are. And if there's a 3-hour video and there's a little clip of something, why don't they just take from 1 hour, 17 minutes to 1 hour, 18 minutes and just blank the screen and say, this part was trimmed out. Click here to skip ahead to where it resumes a minute and a half later. They don't do that. They don't allow you the opportunity for that. No opportunity to remedy alleged issues. Sometimes on the copyright they're allowing you to, but it's still just a hassle. I'm not running a pirated radio station. I'm not putting a motion picture together and I'm lifting your song without paying the artist royalty fees. I'm doing a show and I have fair use authorization to do so. And if somebody has random music playing in the background of a random TikTok video or an Instagram video, that's irrelevant. What's relevant is the conversation happening in front of whatever music that is. If you want to put an advertisement over that particular frame, if for 30 seconds I'm playing something and that's a piano concerto from someone nobody's ever heard of and they haven't sold a copy to anyone, but it is technically copywritten material, advertise it. Put the link there. Don't take down the content. YouTube has been all sorts of screwed up on all sorts of levels for many, many, many years. And it's not just Google, YouTube. My God, the amount of thousands of hours I invested into Facebook thinking there was a future there with all the restrictions and all the ways that they limit your ability to connect with your audience. It's been such a colossal waste of time. That's why there needs to be some sort of recompense. There needs to be some sort of reckoning. Some sort of class action. The Biden administration's censorship pressure was unacceptable and wrong. Public debate should never come at the expense of relying on authorities. I think there was a typo there. The company will never use third-party fact checkers. Yeah, they're not third-party, they're Democrat-driven. Europe's censorship laws are targeting American companies and threatening American speech, including the removal of lawful content. These major admissions come after Chairman Jordan's subpoena to Google and a years-long investigation into the company. So we demand restitution paid for the 14 years of social media censorship of our account. We need restitution. It's fine to point it out, but we need more than that. All right. Here's a story. What is this? Detention center ambush suspects. Alvarado officer was shot in the neck and detention staff were fired upon with dozens of rounds. They found AR-style rifles, radios, body armor, and a signal jammer in the suspects' vehicles. Dallas, 9 firearms and a person wanted in connection with the shooting, a transgender named Autumn Hill, according to charging documents. Other residents released without charges. 10 days later, authorities arrested Benjamin Song, a Marine reservist turned anti-fascist activist, and charged him with firing one of the weapons recovered at the scene. So Apple Lamp says 11 people have since been charged with attempted murder and terrorism-related offenses, 3 others aiding in their escape or concealing evidence. Inside a house in Dallas, officers discovered all of that stuff. Six women formally charged in connection with July 4 ambush-style shooting outside Prairie Land ICE Detention Center in Alvarado, Texas. They orchestrated a fake vandalism report to lure law enforcement into a deadly trap. Like, this is domestic terrorism. What comes next? I mean, what are you supposed to do? Be prepared, train, be ready, and pray. Yeah, these people like Chuck Todd, these are the worst, most disingenuous people out there. MSNBC delivering all the hits. Here's Chuck Todd in 2025 has no idea what it. No idea. But then in 2017, take a look.
Try to create a new classification for anybody on the left who opposes Trump as somehow a member of Antifa and a terrorist.
Yes.
Like, this is coming.
Yeah. Who is that? Yikes.
And I don't think we are fully now. I don't think there's any the problem. Like, I don't even know what Antifa is. I know what the definition of Antifa is, and
I know what the word means, but it's not a group.
There is no group.
No.
Mark Bray, you are writing this book, Antifa, the Anti-Fascist Handbook. Explain this movement and its roots.
Mark Bray is a dark.
Yeah, doesn't even know about it, but he hosted the Antifa professor who wrote the Anti-Fascist Handbook. So disingenuous. All right, we got Miss Muckraker with a batch of stories here. The Federal Reserve is among the foremost drivers of inequality in America, U.S. Treasury Scott Bessent has said. That system is not long for this world, it seems. Unusual Whales reported that. Ms. Muckraker says the Federal Reserve was created by the Federal Reserve Act, signed by President Woodrow Wilson in 1913, with key contributions from Nelson Aldrich, Paul Warburg, and Carter Glass. The Federal Reserve, created in 1913, undermined the U.S. Republic by centralizing monetary control in a quasi-private institution, reducing Congress's constitutional authority over money and giving unelected bankers significant influence, thus weakening democratic oversight. Yeah. And you know how much they've devalued our dollar by? How much they've stolen from us? It's disgusting. Here's a whole rundown of John Rockefeller from 1839 to today. Rockefeller family had an indirect connection to the Federal Reserve's creation through their influence on banking, particularly via National City Bank and ties to J.P. Morgan's network, which helped shape the 1910 Jekyll Island meeting. The Rockefeller family, through entities like the Rockefeller Foundation, collaborates on lobbying efforts with groups like the Hewlett Foundation, Gates Foundation, and coalitions such as the Global Energy Alliance and Economic Opportunity Coalition, focusing on climate, equity, and policy reform. Historically, they were linked to J.P. Morgan and Nelson Aldrich in banking and monetary policy. Ms. Muckraker says the White House has put out a statement saying there are no plans to arrest sanctuary city mayors or sanctuary state governors. Well, how do you get it to stop then? Two million illegals have exited the United States since President Trump took office, per Tom Homan. Well, with estimates being 40 million, 1/20th is a start, but what about the other 38 million? Breaking, President Trump says the Amish have essentially no autism. End quote. Ms. Muckraker says autism prevalence among Amish children is approximately 0.37, which is 1 in 271, as found in a 2010 study screening 1,899 Amish children in Ohio and Indiana. This compares to the 2023 U.S. national rate of 2.78, which is 1 in 36. 1 in 36 compared to 1 in 271. Almost 100 times difference, 80 times difference, 90 times difference. 90 times different. This meme, what kind of autist are you? Tylenol or vaccination? Or water? Or whatever they're spraying in the sky, or whatever the ticks are biting you with? President Trump also said there is no reason to give newborn babies Hep B vaccines. Hep B is an STD. The Hep B vaccine uses a recombinant surface antigen, HBsAg, to stimulate the immune system, prompting B cells to produce anti-HBs antibodies, HBs antibodies, and T cells to form immune memory. Eric Daughtry says, holy crap, President Trump just went berserk at the United Nations for funding mass migration and thus destroying Western civilization. I'll give you that video. I have the video in the stack. Yeah, I'll just skip to it because I have that. Breaking, the U.S. Secret Service dismantled a network of over 30 SIM servers and 100,000 SIM cards in the New York area capable of crippling telecom systems with mass texts, jamming cell towers, or enabling anonymous attacks. What the hell? The operation, uncovered just before the UN General Assembly, prevented potential disruptions during the gathering of nearly 150 world leaders. No specific threat to the event was confirmed, and investigations continue to trace links to foreign actors and U.S. criminal networks. Ms. Muckraker says, if you ban abortions, they will just happen illegally. Also, Democrats, if you ban guns, we will be all safe. We will all be safe from gun violence. Ms. Muckraker says, once upon a time, there was a nation called Persia. They gave shelter to 4,000 Muslims. 100 years later, every Parsi was wiped out. Today, that nation is Iran, an Islamic state. Just thought you should know. Islam doesn't work in natural society. It's an infectious disease of the mind. Well, people ask, is there Islam? Is there radical Islam? What is the difference? And I was thinking about it because Christians are called to be missionaries, to go spread the gospel, go spread the word of Jesus Christ, Lord and Savior. Christ is King, right? But they're not mafia. They won't attack you and destroy you, take over and subjugate you if you don't buy what they're selling. They move on to the next person and they keep talking. Whereas Islam, through Sharia, it's a military conquest. It's a plan to take over and change and force subjugation. You must do this or else. It's mafia. It's a mafia tactic. I don't know what it means to say moderate Muslim, radical Islam, if the plan is to conquer the globe in a caliphate. Christianity is to like witness and attest to these are the things I believe, and here's why it's important to me, and here's what was said, here's what the good book said, and here's the point of that, and wouldn't it be great if you gave your life over to Jesus Christ? And it's a sales pitch. If the answer is no, you don't burn things down. You don't attack the people that said no. But in this post from Miss Muckraker, they're talking about Persia. It was turned into an Islamic state of Iran. And there's pockets of that's what's happening all across Europe. It's not an attempt to slowly assimilate into the current culture. It's an attempt to get into that culture, dominate it, overrun it, and install your own culture. It's an overthrow of Europe. It's a religious overthrow of Europe that they're attempting right now. And it's part of the plan that's being attempted all across every sovereign nation. This mass migration, it's not a crisis. It's not a thing. It's been funded. It's been an attack. Military-aged men into sovereign nations. That's where we find ourselves. Look at New York. What's New York thinking about doing? What's going on up in Minnesota? What's going on in Columbus, Ohio? What's going on in pockets of Texas? It's not assimilation. It's invasion. Immigration without assimilation is invasion. Miss Muckraker says, Trump says he will not meet with congressional Democrats to negotiate over a potential government shutdown, calling their demands unserious and ridiculous. President Trump says, after reviewing the details of the unserious and ridiculous demands being made by the minority radical left Democrats in return for their votes to keep our thriving country open, I have decided that no meeting with their congressional leaders could possibly be productive. They are threatening to shut down the government of the United States unless they can have over $1 trillion in new spending to continue free healthcare for illegal aliens, a monumental cost. They want to force taxpayers to fund transgender surgery for minors. They want to have dead people on the Medicaid rolls, allow illegal alien criminals to steal billions of dollars in American taxpayer benefits. They want to try to force our country to again open our borders to criminals and to the world. Democrats want to allow men to play in women's sports. Democrats want to essentially create transgender operations for everybody. These radical left views and policies are what allowed me to win the presidential election, including all 7 swing states and the popular vote in a historic landslide. There are consequences to losing elections, but based on their letter to me, the Democrats haven't figured that out yet. They're trying to eliminate the popular $50 billion rural and vulnerable hospital fund, which was passed with only Republican votes and proudly signed into law by me. The Democrats in Congress seem to have totally lost their way. They obviously have no idea what it means to put America first or to make America great again. All congressional Democrats want to do is to enact radical left policies that nobody voted for. High taxes, open borders, no consequences for violent criminals, men and women's sports, taxpayer-funded transgender surgery, and much more. Few people voted for what they represent, which would lead to the destruction of America. Instead, people voted for common sense, and that's what the Republicans and your president, Donald J. Trump, stand for. I look forward to meeting with them if they get serious about the future of our nation. We must keep the government open and legislate like true patriots rather than hold American citizens hostage, knowing that they want our now thriving country closed. I'll be happy to meet with them if they agree to the principles in this letter. They must do their job. Otherwise, it will be another long and brutal slog through the radicalized quicksand. To the leaders of the Democrat Party, the ball is in your court. I look forward to meeting with you when you become realistic about the things that our country stands for. Do the right thing. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. Joel Webbin here says, breaking news. Jesus doesn't forgive everyone. That's why hell exists. Yeah, maybe we're supposed to forgive, but... so here's a declaration. I keep seeing this guy around. Young Hoon Kim shared this. I'm not familiar with him. That is who's in the video. I'll follow it. World's highest IQ record holder and Grand Master of Memory. He's got some thoughts to say. There have been some awakenings across planet Earth during that Charlie Kirk memorial service.
As the world's highest IQ record holder and a Grand Master of Memory, I proclaim today, I will plant churches in every corner of the world, declaring Jesus Christ as Lord, in honor of Charlie Kirk.
So he's saying, if that was a little tough to hear, he said, I will plant churches in every corner of the world, declaring Jesus Christ as Lord in honor of Charlie Kirk. And people are reimagining, re-examining how they're spending their lives and where their priority lands and what they're doing with plans for family, with career, with faith, with all of it. It's all up for reconsideration. You can check out his whole video if you like. Here's KGB. You should watch this. I can't play it because of the music and because it's a movie parody. But it's pretty good. Whoever made this one, you should watch it. It's about the Matrix. It's on our Instagram feed. Right before KGB agent Yuri Bezmenov, who I'm going to play for you now. What's going on with Antifa and what is this radical plan? Well, it's been going on for a little bit.
You see, the useful idiots, the leftists who are idealistically believing in the beauty of Soviet socialist or communist or whatever system, when they get disillusioned, they become the worst enemies. That's why my KGB instructors specifically made the point, never bother with leftists. Forget about these political prostitutes. Aim higher.
But to eliminate the others, to execute the others, don't they serve some purpose? Wouldn't they be the ones they rely on?
They serve purpose only at the stage of destabilization of a nation. For example, your leftists in United States, all these professors and all these beautiful civil rights defenders, they are instrumental in the process of the subversion only to destabilize the nation. When their job is completed, they are not needed anymore. They know too much. Some of them, when they get disillusioned, when they see that Marxist-Leninists come to power, obviously they get offended. They think that they will come to power. That will never happen, of course. They will be lined up against the wall and shot. But they may turn into the most bitter enemies of Marxist-Leninists when they come to power. And that's what happened in Nicaragua. You remember most of these former Marxist-Leninists were either put to prison or one of them split and now he's working against Sandinistas. It's the same pattern everywhere. The moment they serve their purpose, all the useful idiots are either be executed entirely, all the idealistically minded Marxists, or exiled or put in prisons, like in Cuba. Many former Marxists are in Cuba. In prison. You see, the useful idiot.
So careful who you align with. LGBT community with radical Islam. They do not like you in any way. A Christian society tolerates anybody kind of doing what they're going to do. It is a great way to set up a nation. What are the Christian policies? It's just kind of like don't kill and don't steal. There's really not much that you can. It's pretty basic. And maybe you carve something out for abortion where people can make their own decisions on that. And maybe it would be strongly encouraged that maybe see it through to an adoption, because we need more Americans in America with American values raised by American families. You import people from anywhere else, you have no idea how they're raised, what their value system is, what they're up to, how they're going to contribute. It's just we've de-emphasized the American family massively, and part of the reason is because our dollar supply, our dollar has been destroyed, and it's tougher and tougher for people to get by financially. We got to fix that whole money situation and encourage people. Tax write-offs and grants, and I mean, it's in our best interest to have families. I actually had a dream today. I'll keep that one to myself for a minute, but look right here on that same. I can't do it that way. Charlie Kirk made a post: get married, have children, build a legacy, pass down your values, pursue the eternal, seek true joy. Eventually, we will replace the nihilists. Yuri Bezmenov, when he's talking about the useful idiots, I mean, we've really given I don't think we've been prioritizing things in the right way as a nation. Now we don't have replacement rate birth rates, and too many people that are not from here have invaded here haven't properly taken the time to assimilate and join the culture, rather trying to invade and change the culture. That's not allowable. That's not acceptable. And President Trump agrees. Take a listen. This is President Trump confronting the United Nations for financing this planned invasion.
In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border.
To the people that say there's no difference between the Republican Party and the Democrat Party, I get what you mean on some level, but come on. Tell me this isn't night and day different from what Biden was doing with Mayorkas and everybody else, and Obama, Soros, the NGOs, the human trafficking, the drug trafficking. Tell me this is the same. This is not the same. This is not the same.
Millions of people came through that southern border. Just a year ago, millions and millions of people were pouring in, 25 million altogether over the 4 years of the incompetent Biden administration. And now we have it stopped, totally stopped. In fact, they're not even coming anymore because they know they can't get through. But what took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them.
That's absolutely what this is. The quote we made, immigration without assimilation is an invasion.
In the United States, we reject the idea that mass numbers of people from foreign lands can be permitted to travel halfway around the world, trample our borders, violate our sovereignty, cause unmitigated crime, and deplete our social safety net. We have reasserted that America belongs to the American people, and I encourage all countries to take their own stand in defense of their citizens as well. You have to do that because I see it. I'm not mentioning names. I see it, and I can call every single one of them out. You're destroying your countries. They're being.
I love the Trumpian thing that he does. He'll say, and I'm not going to name names, but I'm looking at it. I'm looking at you're destroying your countries, like you, France, like you, Germany, like you, Spain, like you, Italy, or whatever. Although Maloney, I think, is one of the good ones over there. Trump has a way of saying, now I'm not going to say, also, now I'm saying it, and jumps right into saying it. It's kind of wild.
Being destroyed.
They are. They're destroying all across Europe. They're allowing their nation to be invaded and changed, radicalized. Why are you putting up with this? Hit reset. Anyone that came here in the last 5 years, it's time to go back to where you came from.
Europe is in serious trouble.
Big trouble.
They've been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal in 2020.
Having somebody that will represent common sense in front of the UN is very important. All right. The Rooted Wings account says they listened to the whole autism conference early this morning, and Tylenol wasn't the only thing spotlighted as a potential culprit. Yes, Tylenol, acetaminophen, announced correlation between prenatal acetaminophen exposure and increased risks of autism and ADHD, notably in the second and third trimesters. Under duress, countervailing views on health and elections are now scrolling at the bottom of your page. Go to cdc.gov, who.int, and cisa.gov/rumor control for countervailing views. Vaccines, they've called for the removal of mercury, which is thimerosal, and aluminum. They've called for delaying hepatitis B vaccine until age 12 or later, spacing out vaccinations, separating MMR components over multiple visits instead of combined. Leucovorin, a high-dose form of folic acid, presented as a promising treatment for some autism cases. Evidence of folate deficiencies in some autism cases. CMS will continue leucovorin for Medicaid patients with autism, and NIH will fund further research into folate's role. HHS Secretary Bobby Kennedy, NIH Director Jay Bhattacharya, FDA Commissioner Marty McCary, and CMS Director Mehmet Oz emphasized empowering parents with transparent information and reducing reliance on pharmaceuticals. The administration pledged NIH funding to track autism cases by an all-agency coordination committed to scrutinizing environmental triggers and to course correct away from viewing autism as inevitable. Yesterday, Secretary Kennedy said, some 40% to 70% of mothers who have children with autism believe that their child was injured by a vaccine. President Trump believes that we should be listening to these mothers instead of gaslighting and marginalizing them like prior administrations. How could you argue with that? Yeah, please. It's not just Tylenol. I'm going to type that. It's not just Tylenol. Button. That's my comment. There's a lot to it. So don't get wrapped up into this thing where all you're hearing is the Tylenol talk without the rest of it. Oh, who did this? Who made this meme? So remember when President Bush had his advisor come in and whisper into his ear while he's reading to school children? So the story is Being Libertarian reports that Nexstar released a statement saying that it's joining Sinclair in preempting Jimmy Kimmel's show tonight and moving forward. And this is where the advisor comes up to Jimmy Kimmel. Sir, a second media group has just preempted your show. Sir, a second plane has hit the tower. That's a good meme right there. So we'll see if Jimmy Kimmel comes back after all. President Trump had a lot of stuff to say.
When your prisons are filled with so-called asylum seekers who repaid kindness, and that's what they did. They repaid kindness with crime. It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. See, I can tell you. I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. When your prisons are filled with so-called asylum seekers who repaid kindness, and that's what they did. They repaid kindness with crime. It's time to end the failed experiment of open borders. You have to end it now. See, I can tell you. I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell. When your prisons are filled with...
Yeah, why are your prisons filled with so-called asylum seekers who repaid kindness with crime? Send them out, reclaim your country, have babies, instill your values. People can go back to wherever they came from. It's an invasion if they're not trying to assimilate. That's all I had on that one. That was a Kirk back and forth, but it was a little, maybe, if not convoluted, a very interesting conversation. Trash Panda saying the whole thing was like that. Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, we're just splicing and dicing, taking components. Let me show you some more components. Let me pull up the X feed. Before I do, let me just remind everybody out there, you can follow the New American Media, scrolling at the bottom of your screen. We exist on Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, Odysee, Twitch, Kick, DLive, and YouTube under the New American Media. Telegram and Signal at TNAM and TNAM Chat. We're on X at American_media_. And please subscribe to our podcast at the Agree to Disagree Show on Spotify and Apple. Also, welcome to our bar. We do have tip jars. All right, we have a Patreon link at the New American Media. Thank you to our subscribers who are currently signed up, and thank you to everybody who will sign up in the future. We have a tip jar on Venmo and Cash App. That's my name, Brian Engelman. And then PayPal is fuzzinstallment@yahoo.com, the email address, if you are so interested. Looking at our X feed, there you have it. That is our interview with Mr. John B. Wells from Caravan to Midnight. It's pinned at the top of our X feed. And that's a link to our Patreon page. That's where John B. Wells and I discuss God, Trump, Biden, the deep state, and World War III. You can click that and sign up on our Patreon. All right. Here's a little bit more about Bobby Kennedy. You want to listen. If there's one thing the Charlie Kirk atrocity has shown us, hopefully it's that you got to get away from clickbait, clickbait and clipbait. Clipping and distilling everything down to a bumper sticker for rage. People were actually out there trying to justify Charlie Kirk's assassination because of things that were taken out of context that literally misrepresent every view I've seen. So when you hear, oh, Trump and Kennedy saying Tylenol causes autism, like there's more to it. It's a nuanced conversation. So let's listen to Director of Health and Human Services, Bobby Kennedy. And by the way, don't forget how Charlie Kirk is purported to be the person that connected the Bobby Kennedy campaign with the Trump campaign to bring Maha into this White House. So thank you for that.
Important findings from our autism work that are vital for parents to know as they make these decisions. First, HHS will act on acetaminophen. The FDA is responding to clinical and laboratory studies that suggest a potential association between acetaminophen use during pregnancy and adverse neurodevelopmental outcomes, including later diagnosis for ADHD and autism. Scientists have proposed biological mechanisms linking prenatal acetaminophen exposure to altered brain development. We have also evaluated the contrary studies that show no association. Today, the FDA will issue a physician's notice about the risk of acetaminophen during pregnancy and begin the process to initiate a safety label change. HHS will launch a nationwide public service campaign to inform families and protect public health. FDA also recognized that acetaminophen is often the only tool for fevers and pain in pregnancy, as other alternatives have well-documented adverse effects. HHS wants, therefore, to encourage clinicians to exercise their best judgment in the use of acetaminophen for fevers and pain in pregnancy by prescribing the lowest effective dose for the shortest necessary duration and only when treatment is required. Furthermore, thanks to the politicization of science, the safety of acetaminophen against the risk of neurodevelopmental disorders in young children has never been validated. Prudent medicine, therefore, suggests caution in acetaminophen use by young children, especially since strong evidence also has associated it with liver toxicity. Some studies have also found the use of acetaminophen in children can potentially prolong viral illnesses. FDA will drive new research to safeguard mothers, children, and families. In addition to a possible acetaminophen connection to autism for pregnant women, infants, and toddlers, our research has revealed that folate deficiency in a child's brain can lead to autism.
Folate deficiency. So you need prenatal vitamins with folates, and there's new guidelines. You're just supposed to investigate and get better information. Here's Dr. Marty McCary. There's new hope for autism. This is Laura Ingram.
The president really came down hard on, like, stay away from it if you can. But then in the guidance, you're going to say if there is no other alternative for bringing down a fever, correct? If it's really high, then it's worth the cost benefit. But, of course, critics are saying you're endangering women by putting out this advice. And what if they spike the fever and then it's a nightmare?
He said there are exceptions. But I think what we're doing is we're trying to say we want to take this problem head on.
This is Dr. Marty McCary.
We also released today information about a new label change. We're going to approve a treatment for kids with severe autism that have an antibody or a deficiency of folic acid in the brain, maybe 20 to 50 or 60% of all the kids with autism have a blocked receptor in their brain that's not allowing their folate, that is their vitamin B9, to get in the brain and for those nerve cells to develop normally. And this medication, leucovorin, bypasses that receptor. And there are incredible stories from doctors of seeing dramatic improvement. So we've got good news and we've got this warning.
I mean, isn't this what you want? You want better information? Some people do. Shockingly, you're not going to have to look very far to find people who don't. Here's Dr. Oz talking about this on Fox.
The study and the other one that he mentioned were both reviewed in this analysis by Harvard, and the dean of the School of Public Health there actually sent a statement that we were able to use at the press conference today. And again, he looked at everything. And I'll give you two highlights. The first is that he stands by the data that they've analyzed. It's high quality, academic, no vested interest. None of these, paired sibling studies. There are a few dozen people trying to analyze. That's very difficult. The other thing he said was that he actually would be, he would consider this importantly when he was trying to give advice to a mother or to a child that he was related to. So I think if you take a step back, the real historic reality of today was a very passionate president said enough is enough. We have gassed at women too long. There are problems with autism in this country. It's not just a measuring issue. And so he demanded that we break down the silos between me at CMS, Marty at FDA.
Okay, hold on. They said it was a measuring issue. No. It's not that there's a huge spike in autism. It's just that they're measuring it better. No, it's always been there. And it's like, it hasn't always been there. No, it's not. Not like this. I mean, we can remember growing up and the number of people that were in our classes and in our families compared to today. It's not the same.
Said enough is enough. We have gassed at women too long. There are problems with autism in this country. It's not just a measuring issue. And so he demanded that we break down the silos between me at CMS, Marty at FDA, Jay Bhattacharya at NIH, and Secretary Kennedy, also undaunted, will not be stopped. I don't care what. There's no political benefit of today.
No, this is not. This doesn't help anyone.
Yeah,
like if it's not true, it doesn't help. It makes everybody look
You're
bad.
losing
So why would you
donation-
do it?
Yeah. Who would benefit? Who would benefit if this stuff was untrue? There wouldn't be a benefit if this stuff wasn't true.
My point here.
So for that all to happen and for us to this kind of alacrity bring to the forefront something that was known of last year, a prior administration could have taken steps. This most recent paper came out at the end of August, but the data was based on years of work. We have to take autism and their mothers of these children seriously. It destroys families at times, and we can't afford to have any more children. Without President didn't want to wait another day. He demanded it.
Yes, they're pushing that out. China, help Americans. Eric Dachi says, just in, to stick it to Trump and RFK Jr., liberal women who are pregnant are now posting videos on social media of them downing Tylenol. I believe in science and not someone who has no medical background. That's what that says over top of it. Well, that's a bold strategy. I told you, if the president came out and said, oh, we're going to have great weather in the Rose Garden today for the press conference, I look forward to seeing you out there. The media would show up with umbrellas and galoshes, rain jackets, slickers. It is such a mind virus to say, oh, well, if the president said something about it, I immediately must do the exact opposite. It's a bold strategy. No. Tylenol. That image is everything. Oh, that's so stupid, so funny. Oh, I love it. It's so funny. Okay, let's listen to this lady, kind of Anna Matson, political and market researcher, independent podcast host. Might have heard the name, but I'm not familiar with her. But let's break down what Maha had to say yesterday.
People keep saying that they never took Tylenol and yet their kid is still autistic as a way to say that this is all misinformation. Or saying that they did take Tylenol and their kid is just fine. Here's what you need to understand. Smoking is linked to lung cancer. Is it the only thing that causes lung cancer? No. Does smoking 100% guarantee that you're going to get lung cancer? Also, no. So wouldn't it be reasonable to think that Tylenol is the same way? That Tylenol is linked to autism, but it's not the only thing that causes autism. And Tylenol doesn't guarantee autism. Just because Tylenol isn't linked to autism 100% of the time doesn't mean we should dismiss this. Any drug you take while pregnant does cross the placenta and goes into your baby. It's also interesting because moms are told to stay away from other pain relievers, but I don't see big outlash over that. Shouldn't you be more upset that there hasn't been a warning label on the box about this for so long? Doctors have been telling you that it's safe. Go ahead and try to gaslight that this is somehow the fault of this administration and not everyone else that came before them that refused to tell you the truth. But as always, let me know your thoughts about this and make sure you're following me for more. People keep
All right. That's fair. Sassafras says, last time we had to warn them not to eat Tide Pods. They want to chug Tylenol? Fine with me. I'm going to sit this one out. Democrats are literally filming themselves chugging Tylenol on TikTok to own Trump. These people have lost their minds. I didn't even know who this guy was. This guy is a real piece of work. What's his real name? He goes by a name called Destiny. Boom. Chugging Tylenol. President Trump yesterday discussing America's health.
Tylenol during pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. So taking Tylenol.
Associated. Increased risk. He didn't say causes. He didn't say 100% of the time. Please, if you're going to try to repeat and condense and explain to others, don't do it the wrong way. Don't misinterpret. Don't take this stuff out of context.
Is not good. All right, I'll say it. It's not good. For this reason, they are strongly recommending that women limit Tylenol use during pregnancy unless medically necessary.
And I'll say I probably took way too much. I don't know. I don't even know if I cared what it was. And now I hardly touch the stuff at all. Yeah, when I was playing sports, man. Like when I was aggressively playing, something was always sore. You just deal with it however you can.
That's, for instance, in cases of extremely high fever.
Yeah, so if there's an extreme discomfort, if there's something's tweaked or something's hurting, then okay, fine. But like, don't go popping like crazy thinking there's no harm here. Like, you don't want to get wrapped up in any excessive pills. You just don't.
That you feel you can't tough it out, you can't do it. I guess there's that. It's a small number of cases, I think. But if you can't tough it out, if you can't do it, that's what you're going to have to do. You'll take a Tylenol, but it'll be very sparingly. It can be something that's very dangerous to the woman's health. In other words, a fever that's very, very dangerous, and ideally a doctor's decision, because I think you shouldn't take it. And you shouldn't take it during the entire pregnancy. They may tell you that toward the end of the pregnancy, you shouldn't take it during the entire. And you shouldn't give the child the Tylenol every time he's born and he goes and has a shot. You shouldn't give a Tylenol to that child. All pregnant women should talk to their doctors for more information about limiting the use of this medication while pregnant. So ideally, you don't take it at all. But if you can't tough it out, if there's a problem, you're going to end up doing it.
So how do you feel about all this? Do you feel like it's clear messaging, or do you feel like it's dangerous misinformation? Are you happy that they're putting this stuff out there, or do you wish he'd just keep his mouth shut? Type it in the comments. Curious to get your thoughts. They said Trump is bucking a multi-billion-dollar big pharma company and advising the American people against
Tylenol.
I didn't press play. That just did that on its own. Against using Tylenol during pregnancy, when it would be normally used most. When is the last time a president did something like this? Incredible. Steve Bannon has thoughts.
Watched a lot of President Trump. We've watched a lot of candidate Trump. We've really been, I guess, with President Trump since 2015. I think that was one of the most important sessions I've ever seen for the President of the United States. Remember, today we were talking that this was, with Mary Holland, this was going to come up, and, we didn't know when the report was coming out. It was a slow walking report. President Trump just dropped bombshell after bombshell. That is going to be studied in years to come. In an hour, he went through and just eviscerated. I think Big Pharma, although at the end, say he's a huge supporter of vaccines. I don't know if that was my initial takeaway. One takeaway I did write down on my number 2 pencil was do not take Tylenol, which he said about 50 times. I can imagine they're getting a lawsuit ready right now. He said there's no ADHD. This was incredible. Incredible.
So it was historic. Let's see if Nimbus wants to come up. Wants to join the show, maybe? Hi, bud. Well, just sit here for a minute. Here. Okay, he wants to get over there. And you go over there, bud. Say hi to Nimbus. Yeah, we need to know. Spill the beans. They've been killing us off for years. Oops, need to change this back. Okay, Nimbus, hi. When Nimbus shows up, he shows up. He gets right in the middle of what you're doing. There we go. Let's get this back. There we go. Where's the okay, there you go. A historic day. Being Libertarian wants you to know nobody is saying Tylenol is the cause of autism. They're saying it's potentially a cause. Dismissing this advisory because of politics is dumb when the studies from major universities that found a link are very much not Trump allies. So let me read out what the White House said, the Autism Action Plan. I know you got some of those, but let me just buzz through them. FDA will issue a physician notice and initiate a safety label change on acetaminophen. Research shows a potential association between acetaminophen use during pregnancy and adverse neurodevelopmental outcomes. Prudent use is needed during pregnancy and for infants and toddlers. HHS will launch a nationwide public service campaign to inform families and protect public health. They want to make a therapeutic available. FDA will act to establish the first recognized therapeutic, leucovorin, for children with cerebral folate deficiency and autistic symptoms. Following FDA's action, state Medicaid programs will be able to cover leucovorin for autism spectrum disorder. NIH will launch confirmatory trials and new research into the impact of leucovorin. Increase research investment through the Autism Data Science Initiative. NIH will fund 13 projects totaling more than $50 million investment to transform autism research. These things sound good. Amy Tree says Trump wasn't imagining things about Tylenol and autism. There was a meta-analysis released by Harvard School of Public Health last month, which came to that conclusion. It would be nice if the media would stop treating him like a retarded freak in response to their own ignorance. Harvard, using acetaminophen during pregnancy may increase children's autism and ADHD risk. When children are exposed to acetaminophen, also known by the brand Tylenol or paracetamol, during pregnancy, they may be more likely to develop neurodevelopmental disorders, including autism and ADHD. Researchers analyzed results from 46 previous studies worldwide that investigated the potential link between prenatal acetaminophen use and subsequent NDDs in children. A rigorous, comprehensive analysis supported evidence of an association between acetaminophen exposure during pregnancy and increased incidence of NDDs. Oh, there you go. But Donald Trump's claim about pregnant women and autism is not only unfair, but terribly dangerous. Based on what? Marin Porter, author. With RFK Jr. behind him, Trump pushes an unproven link between Tylenol and autism. That's a Harvard study of 46 studies. Washington Post, as Trump ties Tylenol to autism, doctors raise alarms. Trump asserts unproven link between pharmaceutical and autism, urges parents to delay vaccines. Michael Koziol. So what about the Harvard study? Using acetaminophen during pregnancy may increase children's autism and ADHD risk. August 20, 2025. J. Lau. So be careful of cancel culture and clickbait culture. No, Trump isn't saying Tylenol causes it. Tylenol is being linked to an increased risk. So you should limit it as much as possible. So Sinclair Inc. I wonder if there's an update here. Let me check. Beginning Tuesday night, Sinclair will be preempting Jimmy Kimmel Live across our ABC affiliate stations and replacing it with news programming. Discussions with ABC are ongoing as we evaluate the show's potential return. So maybe it will come back. Maybe it won't. I don't quite know. So here's a little back and forth. Erica Kirk named CEO of Turning Point USA, as you know. Matt says, slay, this woman CEO is here to tell you why women belong in the kitchen. Alex Clark says, the left will make fun of you for choosing to stay home full-time to raise your kids. Then kill your husband and mock you for not staying home with your kids. All because you took over his charity organization, which you inherited not by choice, to keep his legacy and mission alive. It's really, it's a look in the mirror moment. We're asking Elon Musk if he knows any ways that channels like the New American Media can get restitution from the people who destroyed our media company over the past 14 years through discrimination and targeted political censorship. Maybe Elon has a friend they can call on our behalf. So Geiger Capital is reporting the insanity of when Trump arrived to the United Nations. He gets to the escalator and look what happened. He gets to the escalator and the escalator stops working.
President Trump, Schumer.
This feels very intentional. He really almost knocked her over. Because you don't expect something to stop. I've never stopped when I got there. Trump gets up in front of the UN with his microphone.
And I don't mind making this speech without a teleprompter, because the teleprompter is not working. I feel very happy to be up here with you nevertheless, and that way you speak more from the heart. I can only say that whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble. Very much.
He just has a funny way of carrying himself.
Much appreciated. And I don't mind making this speech without a teleprompter, because the teleprompter is not working.
I mean, he's, I don't know. It is charming and endearing. You got the whole room laughing. That's a great way to start any speech. It's not easy to do, but it is when it comes natural to you. Elon says America will not fall. Concerned citizen put this video out from Dearborn, Michigan. Have you checked on Dearborn lately?
Achieved the victory. We haven't done anywhere near enough. And the people here, I promise you, we do feel ashamed. We do feel like we're not doing enough. We do feel like change needs to come, because change must come. And in the form that it must come is that this empire, the American empire that's been hurting our people since the beginning, the imperial Western powers that have been hurting our people since the beginning, they must fall. And inshallah they will fall. And my message to the people of Gaza and the oppressed peoples across the world is that there are people here, both young and old, who are going to be willing to fight and are willing to put their lives and everything they can on the line to bring these empires down, because they must come down. Achieved.
So if that's actually in Dearborn, Michigan, like that's someone trying to tear our country down. The city of Dearborn, Michigan is 55% Muslim now. Check out our show on the Unhappy Hour. Guardians playoff start today versus the Tigers, and the Browns defense looks legendary. I mean, Cleveland can actually come from like 13, 15 games behind this season to maybe win their division if they can take 2 out of 3 from the Tigers and then take care of business against the Rangers. So just consider the playoffs starting today. It's nice to have baseball matter this time of year. September, October baseball, nothing like it. Nothing quite like it. So Kamala Harris called President Trump a communist, but now she's supporting a communist, Zoran Mamdani.
As a sort of talent spotter in the Democratic Party, what do you think of him and his candidacy? And what do you think of mainline Democratic shyness and agitation about the prospect that he's going to win?
Look, as far as I'm concerned, he's the Democratic nominee and he should be supported.
Do you endorse his candidacy?
I support the Democrat in the race, sure. But let me just say this. He's not the only star. I know that, he's in New York, and I know New Yorkers think they're the center of the world, and here we are in New York having this interview.
It is the biggest city in the country.
And I love New York, as the saying goes. I really do. But, I mean, there are people like Barbara Drummond in Mobile, Alabama, Helena Moreno in New Orleans. They're all running for mayor, too, and they are stars. So I hope that we don't so over-index on New York City that we lose sight of the stars throughout our country who are right now running for mayor and many other offices, governor, and so on. So that's where I am. We got a big tent, and we got a lot of stars.
2026 is shaping up to be an election that is going to be filled with Democratic primaries, though.
Big tent and a lot of stars? Who is she considering to be a star? People do not like the American Democrat Party. Oh, man. Oh, that's not good. Oh, I just saw a terrible video. Maybe I'll share with you.
As a sort of talent spotter.
A talent spotter. Oh, please. Dr. Eli David says priceless. Kamala Harris is a talent spotter. That's her title now? She's a talent spotter. Okay, good luck with that. Police in New York stop Emmanuel Macron's car because the street is closed for Trump's convoy. Macron calls Trump to allow him to pass, but Trump humiliates Macron and tells him to walk instead, which he does. That's the alleged context here. Macron's just allowing his country to be invaded and overthrown. Meanwhile, Brigitte Macron is reportedly provided photographic evidence that she is a biological female. contradicting Candace Owens' claims. I'm curious how that develops. It's a lot of she said, he said, or she said, she said, however you want to say that. Yeah, Macron. He's not one of the good guys. Pasobic says, hey, State Department, is this your official Preston Jacobs celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk? The world's a better place without Charlie Kirk, that effing ghoul.
Violence constantly. A fucking horrible ghoul.
Okay. I don't know if that person's ever watched the videos that doesn't match anything I've watched. So let's get to what Jim Jordan said here. Hang on, where's the Jim Jordan post? So Google commits to offer all creators previously kicked off YouTube due to political speech violations to return to the platform. Well, here. He's saying it details when YouTube began rolling back censorship policies on political speech after Judiciary GOP began its investigation. States that public debate should never come at the expense of relying on authorities, promises to never use third-party fact checkers. Europe's censorship is targeting American companies. They've uncovered massive scandals over the past few years related to big tech censorship. They have the Facebook files, smoking gun documents proving Facebook censored Americans because of Biden White House pressure. During the Biden-Harris years under White House pressure, YouTube changed policies to censor political debate on COVID and elections. YouTube admits the censorship pressure was from Biden, and it was unacceptable and wrong. YouTube rolling back censorship policies on political speech, including topics such as COVID and elections. What does that mean? Whether you were an established YouTube presence with a massive following like Dan Bongino, or just were starting out to express political views there, you will have an opportunity to come back onto the platform if you were censored for engaging in political speech. Another victory in the fight against censorship. In August 21, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg wrote the committee a letter admitting Biden administration pressured Facebook to censor Americans. Facebook censored Americans. Facebook throttled the Hunter Biden laptop story that said when people were polled, roughly 25% of the people were saying, I would have never voted for Biden if I knew that story was true. Of course, that would... It's not like many of us feel like we got an actual answer or tally on the election of 2020 anyway, but it still would have changed 25% of the other people voting. Maybe it would have been too big to rig at that point. Even as Meta admitted the Biden-Harris censorship was wrong, others in big tech were reluctant to go on the record. Now Google is acknowledging for the first time that it too faced censorship pressure from the Biden White House, and that pressure was unacceptable and wrong. YouTube making changes to the platform to prevent future censorship. YouTube committing to the American people it will never use outside so-called fact checkers to censor speech. No more telling Americans what to believe and not to believe. YouTube is also trying out community notes. Elon Musk was ahead of the curve. Meta followed suit, and now YouTube. Now YouTube confirms that Europe is targeting American speech and innovation. Here it admits that European social media laws place a disproportionate regulatory burden on American companies. YouTube warns that Europe could force companies to remove lawful and social media content and could risk freedom of expression within and outside of the EU. That's right, Europe wants to censor your online speech, even if you aren't in Europe. Within and outside of the EU. That is insanity. Europe has been overthrown by tyrants and dictators and backward globalists. This stuff has to be reversed immediately. Google and YouTube credit House Judiciary GOP Chairman Jim Jordan for being transparent, for bringing transparency and accountability to big tech censorship. And they'll continue to hold them accountable. John Odermatt says, does this mean that Lions of Liberty will no longer be shadow banned? I'll believe it when I see it. And we'll say we're asking, John has been on our show several times. I've been on his. The same exact question at John O-D-E-R. I hit tab. There we go. However, are also demanding $1 million for our channel for every year we were denied our civil liberties as restitution in a class action case. So YouTube, Google, Meta, FB, IG can put their money where their mouth is. There we go. I decided we want $1 million a year for every channel like ours that we were denied civil liberties as restitution in a class action case. That's how I feel about that. The Cleveland Browns held a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk before the kickoff. That's the right thing to do. Ilhan Omar says, I'm here to protect the interests of Somalia from inside the U.S. system. Phil Mickelson, the golfer, says our elected officials are legally and ethically required to protect America's interest, not in other countries or in other religions or another kind of law like Sharia. This shit needs to end. This guy is told in Europe, you're quite openly Jewish. If you choose to remain here, you'll be arrested for breaching the peace. In Sadiq Khan's diverse and inclusive London, police threaten you with arrest just for being Jewish in areas of the city. That people might take offense to that. So that's interesting. If anyone out there reads the Bible, this Kentucky girl saying, I'm starting to read it and using Erica Kirk's app to read it in a year. I want to use an actual Bible too. The only Bible I have is a King James Version. Is there an easier version to read, but one that still feels sacred, I guess? So if you read them, which one do you like? Libs of TikTok reports that Lauren Nash, a meteorologist for NSW New Orleans, allegedly made this post online suggesting that the funeral for Charlie Kirk was exactly the same as a Nazi rally. Can you believe that crap? Well, you better. This picture looks like it came from the images I saw shown at Dachau. Nazis, Nuremberg, Hitler. Arr. Angelina Jolie trashes America at a film festival in Spain. I don't recognize my country. Edward Dowd says, I guess she slept through mandated deadly gene jabs, censorship of individual Americans on social media by the Biden administration, FBI secret police Operation Arctic Frost, Orwellian lockdowns that destroyed small businesses, unprecedented inflation, 20 million illegal aliens purposely and fraudulently brought into the country by the government, weaponization of government, by jailing political opponents, lawfare, and multiple attempted presidential assassinations. It was a long nap. Australia's at a crossroads. Edward Schuller says the unavoidable measure is to end mass migration before it destroys the Australian way of life. Mass migration is eroding our values, morals, and common purpose. Australia is not a land of foreigners. It's a land of settlers, explorers, and stewards. Warns of a housing crisis, rising crime, and wage stagnation. Says we're becoming a collection of ethnic enclaves. Calls on Australians to rise up, fly the flag, and reclaim identity. Now is the time to draw on our heritage. One people, one destiny. God bless Australia. This girl patriot posted something. It was rare footage in Manila Bay in World War II. U.S. Navy gunner Lois Edward Dean, 23, was killed when his TBM Avenger torpedo bomber was hit by Japanese anti-aircraft fire. His body was too badly mangled to be removed from the aircraft's rear turret. So the crew of the USS Essex pushed the damaged plane with Dean's body inside overboard to bury him at sea. This tragic event marks the only known burial of an airman in an aircraft at sea in U.S. Navy history. Just something interesting on X. Randomly in Edward Dowd's timeline, the architect says, I can literally hear the collective hiss of demons everywhere. They know their time is short. Be ready for anything at this point. And then underneath that is a picture of a black swan. So be alert. Hey, check this happy horse shit out. Clay Travis points out how Mike Wilbon says Bruce Pearl, the coach, had become a divisive figure. And he hopes someone forced him out. First, that didn't happen. Second, how was he divisive? The vast majority of people in the SEC agreed with everything he's ever.
Trails to coaching for Bruce Pearl. The Auburn coach is stepping down to become an ambassador for the athletic department. In his place, the school gave a 5-year deal.
They got music in the background, so I'm going to have to not play it. Dave Portnoy says, what an idiotic comment from Wilbon. Kornheiser shouldn't have rolled over. Apparently, Wilbon only likes athletes or coaches who speak on social issues if they align with his views. Otherwise, you're divisive. What a narrow-minded, small view on Bruce Pearl. Danny Cannell, what a lame take. Wilbon puts on full display what's wrong in today's society. He used to like him, but because he made his political and religious views known, it makes him a divisive figure? That's weak. Tiffany said, Jimmy Kimmel averages 126,000 views per episode. Let's see if my chili dog can get more views than Jimmy Kimmel. It's been hearted 327,000 times. That's a pretty good post. I'd like to recreate it. Elon post for Charlie. Even in death, Charlie was able to help bring President Trump and Elon Musk back together. And, you know, they're sitting there talking, and some people are saying they're making hand signs. President Trump is pointing out God's Romans 13. God's Roman 13 minister is supposed to hate his enemies and wage war against them.
In that private moment on his dying day, we find everything we need to know about who Charlie Kirk truly was. He was a missionary with a noble spirit and a great, great purpose. He did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent, and I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Erica. But now Erica can talk to me and the whole group, and maybe they can convince me that that's not right, but I can't stand my opponent.
Romans 13 is pretty clear. Let's see what Grok says there. Because the mistaken ideology is that Christians have to turn the other cheek and suffer abuse. That is not the case. Romans 13 is a chapter in the New Testament written by the Apostle Paul, focusing on Christian submission to governing authorities. Love is the fulfillment of the law and living in light of Christ's return. Below is a concise summary. How concise can I make it? Rulers are meant to promote good and punish evil. Christians should obey not just out of fear, but for conscience's sake. Paul instructs Christians to submit to governing authorities as they are established by God. Resisting them is resisting God's ordinance, which may bring judgment. Yeah. Rulers are meant to promote good and punish evil. Christians should obey not just out of fear, but for conscience sake. So President Trump bringing that energy. Yep, to forgive is Christian. For the local justice department to punish and terrorize evildoers and avenge the innocent is God commanded. Doubt me? See Matthew 6:14 and 15, Romans 13:3 and 4, and 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 13 and 14. And that's sort of what Stephen Miller had to say here at the Charlie Kirk event.
The light will defeat the dark. We will prevail over the forces of wickedness and evil. They cannot imagine what they have awakened. They cannot conceive of the army that they have arisen in all of us. Because we stand for what is good, what is virtuous, what is noble. And to those trying to incite violence against us, those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have? You have nothing. You are nothing. You are wickedness, you are jealousy, you are envy, you are hatred. You are nothing. You can build nothing. You can produce nothing. You can create nothing. We are the ones who build. We are the ones who create. We are the ones who lift up humanity. You thought you could kill Charlie Kirk? You have made him immortal. You have immortalized Charlie Kirk. And now millions will carry on his legacy. And we will devote the rest of our lives to finishing the causes for which Charlie gave his last measure of devotion.
Stephen Miller. I mean, that's sort of the energy I'm looking for out of a church. You know, I don't want to hear whataboutism. That's what I got week 1. I don't know. I just, given the times that we're in, I want to hear more messages about that. Romans 13, I want to hear about defense. I don't want to hear whataboutism. I don't want it to be a footnote.
You cannot defeat us. You cannot slow us. You cannot stop us. You cannot deter us. We will carry Charlie and Erica in our heart every single day and fight that much harder because of what you did to us. You have no idea the dragon you have awakened. You have no idea how determined we will be to save this civilization, to save the West, to save this republic. Because our children are strong, and our grandchildren will be strong, and our children's children's children will be strong. And what will you leave behind? Nothing. Nothing. To our enemies, you have nothing to give, you have nothing to offer, you have nothing to share, but bitterness. We have beauty, we have light, we have goodness, we have determination, we have vision, we have strength. We built the world that we inhabit now, generation by generation, and we will defend this world. We will defend goodness, we will defend light, we will defend virtue. You cannot terrify us, you cannot frighten us, you cannot threaten us, because we are on the side of goodness, we are on the side of God. And to my friend Charlie, to my brother Charlie, I know you are looking at us right now. I know you're watching Erica right now. I know you're watching your children right now. And I promise you, my friend, I promise you, my brother, we will prove worthy of your sacrifice. We will prove worthy of your time on earth. We will make you proud. We will finish the job. We will defeat the forces of darkness and evil, and we will stand every day for what is true, what is beautiful, what is good, and we will achieve victory for our children, for our families, for our civilization, and for every patriot who stands with us. God bless you. God bless Turning Point. God bless Erica. God bless the Kirk family. God bless our heroes. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Stephen Miller, everybody. Jay Plemons says, but if you do wrong, be afraid, for he who is in authority does not bear the sword in vain. For he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. Romans 13:4. William Wolfe said, I want to live in a country where the evil are terrified and where the good and faithful and moral people live in peace. That's Benny Johnson going full Romans 13 at Charlie Kirk's memorial service. This is the message we need to be using. Trash Panda loves Miller. Footnote, is that when you step on a Post-it? Waka, waka, waka. And let's let Matt Walsh unpack this a little bit. He's got a way with words.
What do we think about the cost-benefit analysis there? Look, I've been making this point for a long time. As a society, we have two choices. Okay, only two. Either we are going to inflict severe, merciless suffering on the criminals, the violent degenerates, the sociopathic predators, the dysfunctional, the barbaric, or we're going to allow severe, merciless suffering to be inflicted on the innocent.
Yes, it's one or the other.
The women sitting on the train after work, the pedestrians walking their dogs in the park, the Uber drivers, the gas station clerks, and so on. One group or the other is going to be made to feel immense suffering. One group or the other is going to be met with brutality and violence. There's no third option, at least not for us. Now, other countries may be able to find a middle path. Japan is one of the safest countries in the world. It's also completely homogenous. 98% of Japanese citizens are ethnically Japanese. They are a small, homogenous country where everybody shares the same culture, same values, same priorities, the same fear of public shame and embarrassment. And yet, even in Japan, the death penalty is mandated in their penal code. They don't use it often, but when they do use it, the accused finds out their execution date on the day of the execution. And then they're taken off to be hanged without any further appeal. So Japan's secret sauce is homogeneity with severe and lethal punishment dispensed on the rare occasion when it's necessary. That is not our situation. We are a very big country. We are, as we're always reminded, very diverse. So we are left with the two options I just outlined. Severe, brutal, ugly punishment of the guilty, or severe, brutal, ugly punishment of the innocent. Either the former or the latter. To choose neither, to refuse to choose, is to choose the latter.
That is very well said. Matt has a good Matt has a way with words. I want to protect the good people. Joel Berry says, Matt is right here. Biblically speaking, our justice system should be a terror and avenger for wrath on the one practicing evil. Romans 13, we should channel our anger into rebuilding our justice system into one that strikes fear into the hearts of evil people. And that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. Thank you all so much for being here. Kenneth, you just showed up. Look at the mug. The New American Media mug. Red on the inside. Look at that. Trash Panda made a batch. We're going to have to figure out what to do with them, but we're going to make them available to all of our regulars. We're going to figure out what that looks like. I have an idea. I'll have to play around with some shipping, figure out how to factor that in. But maybe as early as tomorrow, we can make these available to people. Trash Panda said maybe, well, anyway, let me work on that. But thank you for that generous gift. If anyone wants to leave anything in the tip jar, it's at the bottom of the screen. We're going to be posting another video on Patreon shortly, maybe today. And you can sign up for a monthly subscription. We certainly appreciate that. We have subscriptions on YouTube, however that works. Brand new to it. Kenneth needs one soon. All right. There we go. Yeah, let me figure out how it's going to be with I got to measure dimensions and weigh the box and kind of figure out what the shipping cost will be so that we can figure out how much of a super chat or PayPal or Venmo it would be But yeah, maybe tomorrow, now that I'm thinking about it, make them available. Yeah, thank you to all of you. We are not heavily reliant upon sponsors. We do what we do, and we rely on crowdfunding and helping on you helping us get the message out there. So please share this across your social media platforms. Invite a couple friends to connect with the program, and keep watching those videos on YouTube. We're about 700 hours away. Let me see. I looked earlier today. Let me make sure we are refreshed. It might be 711. Yeah, we're 711 hours away from unlocking advertisements on our YouTube channel again. See, they did this little trick where they limited our reach. We were getting thousands of views on our stuff, 10,000, 30,000. Like, we're getting real views. And they zapped us. They zapped our account. So our fans were no longer able to see our stuff. Our views shot into the toilet. And it's like, well, why am I spending half of my working day creating content that we can't monetize? We can't pay our bills doing this. Like, this has been the nonstop battle against YouTube, Google since we began this. The more successful we are, the more punitive they become, because we're taking money out of the mouths of their lying legacy media outlets. They called them authoritative sources. So yeah, I'm communicating with John Odermatt. John Odermatt responded to Jim Jordan saying, that's cool, but will YouTube remove our shadow banning now? And get it to the point where people are watching our shows again. You're not showing people our content. They're artificially depressing the value of our material, which means we can't make the money we need to make to pay our bills. That's why I told John I want $1 million a year for every year they've deprived our civil liberties to keep our company from growing and expanding. We should be in a much bigger position in the marketplace right now if our civil liberties weren't violated. Section 230, they're a private company. They can do whatever they want. The government was doing it. Obama, Biden were doing it. That is a civil liberty situation. The Democrat Party needs to be in on paying these class action lawsuits $1 million a year to super creators like John and myself. Google, YouTube needs to be paying a penalty for this. Otherwise, it's just lip service. Same with Facebook, Meta. So if you can date this back to 2019, that's one of the years people are saying that's 6 years ago when things got wonky. Across platforms, that would be $1 million a year from Meta and $1 million a year from YouTube. 12 million minus 30% for attorney fees. For whatever reason, we have to do that. That feels excessive too. Do you have any idea what we'd do with $9 million? $8 million. Do you know the building that we would buy, the people we would employ, the drastic, awesome changes you would see in the New American Media and our programming? I do what I can as a team of one, but my God, if we had competent people and I could just be the idea man, it's sort of my thing. Yeah, we'd be able to rival a lot of things that are out there. So we're going to follow this story, Google admitting all this stuff on the heels of the Facebook files, and Lord knows what Twitter has done to stifle free speech and our ability to express ourselves and earn a living doing so. Long time coming. Kenneth throwing in the tip jar. $5 for a buy, sir. Well, aye, sir, for a buy, sir. Muchos gracias. I like the super chat. This is awesome. What would I do with it? As a half owner, I know what I would do. I already have the building picked out. I know exactly where to put the headquarters. I know exactly, and I know who I'd hire for. I know. Yeah. This is just an absolutely tyrannical nightmare hellscape we've escaped. What Obama, Biden did to companies like the New American Media, Lions of Liberty with John Odermatt, and so many others that I know. No, there absolutely has to be penalties, a class action. 2,000 videos. How does the math work on that? Let me do a quick math. 2,000 divided by man, Grok is just a mess. It keeps saying roughly 142 videos per year for 14 years. Yeah, we're super users. 10 videos a month. That, on average. We're doing far more than that now. But we're also escaping a time where we weren't able to express ourselves at all. All of our stuff was getting taken down. So yeah, our place in the market, our share of the marketplace, our place in the industry, severely hampered by what they've done to shadow ban and censor and target us, depriving us of civil liberties. So, let me click this to click on super chats. Yeah, look at that. Fiverr for a buy, sir. Thank you so much. That's super cool. So far in just 2 days of super chats, we have $35 in super chats. Thank you for tossing some money in the tip jar. As a former bartender, and I'm a current bartender. I'm a bartender on a podcast, I suppose. Yeah, you love grabbing those bills and throwing them into the pot and then figuring it out at the end of the night. So thank you all for everything. And we'll be back at 6 o'clock Eastern time in about 3.5 hours for Strictly Football. That'll be with Mike Barra, Jim Mitchell, and Ezrael Robinson. It's not episode 1. It'll be episode 5 of Strictly Football. Please join us to break down the games of last week and a look ahead to this week. So signing out on behalf of everybody at the TNAM network. Thank you all for being a part of this program. I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody. Peace out.
Guide to the Truth, thenewamericanmedia.com.